All right, what we're looking at today is support settings, specifically on the Bambu A1. I ran these tests overnight. I've been having all kinds of trouble with my supports. I use the standard settings. I use modified settings. Sometimes they come off easily. Sometimes they're just welded onto the part and I can't get them off. I don't keep track of which settings are which. And so the ones that come off easily, I just don't remember what settings I used. So I ran all of these tests. I found this test set on Maker World. I don't remember who did it, but they have all 7 standard settings. The normal default, the normal grid, the normal snug, the tree default, tree slim, tree strong, tree hybrid, and tree organic. What we're going to do is see which ones come off the easiest and which ones leave the best surface on the build part. In addition to all of the standard settings, I did make some modifications. You see a lot of people talking about making a larger top Z distance. So we're going with a 1/6 layer height and a 0.19 top Z on this row right here. This third row down, 0.16 layer height, 1.9 top Z, and we're using the rectilinear interlaced interface pattern, which is the pattern that the Bambu slicer will suggest if you're using an interface layer of a different material like PETG or the Bambu Lab support material. As we go down, we're also keeping all the same stuff, but we're also increasing the top interface spacing. Normally this is 0.5, so we just went to 0.7. And then at the very bottom, we went with the regular 0.16 top Z, which is usually, your top Z usually matches your layer height. And the only change we have on this one down here is the top interface spacing. So you can see a couple of parts that I ran here this morning. I just ran this as it was on the plate from Yosh Studios as soon as I downloaded it into the slicer. And I just used standard supports default. And yeah, it's not coming off easily. Let's see if I can pull that off with a pair of pliers. This big pair of pliers here. Yeah, I mean, that's just not really coming off. Kind of, but that's not what you really want. I mean, nobody wants to struggle with that kind of stuff all the time. Okay, well, that wasn't all that great. These are some tree supports where I made some modifications, and I don't know if you can see that, but this thing's practically welded on there. Yeah. It's just, this is going to be good for testing paint because those supports are not going to come off the top, I don't think. I mean, a lot of this part right here, they're just welded on there. Look at that. Just ripping the helmet apart. That part is not supposed to come off. So, yeah, there goes that. Yeah, those supports are in there good. So, let's see what we're working with here. Get all this crap cleaned off of our work area here. And you can see these are on there. I have not messed with these yet. So let's see what we're dealing with here. standard, normal, default, which is what I have on here. We saw what we were dealing with on there. Yeah, it's not like those are just coming off or anything. We're gonna have to get some tools here. These little pliers are great, little adjustable pliers. Let's see if I can squeeze that. Yeah, see, broke the little arm piece off. That little piece is not supposed to break off. There we go. I guess that's a pretty decent surface, but it didn't come off that easy. And it broke the part. So standard, default, pretty decent surface, not that easy to get off. So we're looking at normal supports with the grid setting. Be a little bit more careful with this one if I can. I guess it's kind of difficult to be careful with the part and not hurt yourself when you're dealing with something this small and this difficult to release. And this is just Elegoo PLA basic. Once it started to come off, that came off a little bit easier. The normal supports with the grid setting, pretty decent surface there, but I mean, it's not great. It's not super smooth or anything. So let's see. Let's kind of take these off the plate, organize them like that. Get this out of the way. Normal supports, snug setting. Man, it could be this PLA is super sticky, it sticks to itself, but my goodness, look at that. It came off, and man, there's still some of it stuck to the surface there. So I'm gonna say that's just getting worse and worse. Okay, default tree supports here. Jeez, those things are on there. Man, I might have to stop using this material. I might have to test these with a different PLA to see if I get different results, because this stuff like sticks to itself big time. Okay, so I'm not even sure we're going to get all these off of here cleanly. Definitely not cleanly, but if we're even going to get them off. There we go. Wow, that's definitely not good. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. Tree slim. Wow, that comes off easy. That comes off real nice. Oh man, that's a terrible finished surface though. Look at that. The stringing hanging down. That's like a whole layer of material looping down. I could almost get my fingernail underneath those loops of material. Tree strong. And that is on there. That is strong. Wow. There we go. Got those off. But man, they just get worse and worse as we go down the line. That is not good. I don't know if you could see that, but you could definitely get under those strings with something. That's like a whole layer of material just stringing up. So we got a tree hybrid here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into some different PLA. It's too bad because I've ordered like 15 rolls of this stuff. Well, that came off a little bit easier. I'm not gonna say it was easy. And I guess that is very similar to this first and second finish. So far, our best ones are looking like the normal default and tree hybrid. So with these tree organic, I use these tree organic a lot because you used to hear people talking about these a lot, saying these are the best. And these have been giving me trouble. And that's just probably the worst. That's the worst part finish out of all of them. Wow, that is terrible. So it pretty much got worse and worse as you went down the line until we got to this hybrid. So the tree hybrid and the normal default so far are the champions. And we will move down the line. All we did here was increase the top Z distance, and you hear people talk about that a lot. Increase your top Z, increase your top Z. It's gonna make everything easier, make life better, get more girls. I don't know. Whoa. Well, that popped off real easy, and it looks like it's gonna be a pretty clean surface. If I can find that thing. It took a good bounce down here under the table. Well, it definitely came off easier, and the surface is about the same as the first one. So I'm going to say that is our number one choice right now. Increased top Z, normal grid. Boy, that's popping right off. That just came right off. And that's not bad. I mean, compared to everything else we've been looking at so far, that looks pretty good. Not bad at all. So those two are really good. Just increasing the top Z is actually doing something. Let's see here. This is not coming off super easy. Broke that part. Not supposed to break that. So increasing the top Z on the snug. So far the normal snug, not necessarily all that good. I'm not liking that one at all. Really gotta like so far these two. Normal default, normal grid with the top Z increase. So tree default. Oh man, those are like welded on there. That is so weird. Yeah, wow. Increasing the top Z distance on the tree makes them worse. There they go. Well, yeah, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good at all. So I'm gonna have to say still normal default with the increased top Z distance, pretty good. So now we're looking at the tree slim. Yeah, that bottom surface is terrible. I mean, you could peel those things off and go fishing. That's how much they're still just pieces of string. Tree strong. Oh man, this is not good. I don't know what this would be good for. It popped off okay once I squeezed it, but man, that is terrible. That is terrible. You could pull some of that filament out and reuse it in your machine probably. Tree hybrid. Another one that's weird. And that's not gonna come off. That is literally not gonna come off. Look at that. The whole interface layer is still stuck to that. Tree organic, increased top Z. Okay, so just increasing the top Z distance on the tree supports, terrible. Terrible idea. So far, these two, say 1, 2. All of these are terrible. Wow, amazing. You always hear about tree supports being the best. So now we're on the third row. Same as the second row, just a different interface layer pattern. And you know, if you look in the slicer, it tells you that these interface layers actually make a big difference in how they're used. And well, I can't really say that's any better or worse. It's not as good. So looking at all of these again, the very first one on both rows are the best. First and second still. And this is a little bit worse. So increasing the top Z distance and using the rectilinear interlaced pattern for your interface pattern is not better than just the standard default settings. And it's getting worse. So far, what this is showing me is that Bambu Studio default settings are not that bad. Actually kind of the best, but that's also what this is. I mean, look at that. I mean, a lot of that's probably just orientation. I saw somebody in a group talking about how they just run them the way that they come from Yosh Studios on the plate. So I thought I would try that. Of course, that was like this. Yeah, terrible idea. Terrible. So, and that is this normal default standard settings. So there has to be some way to figure out when to adjust your support settings and how. But I guess that's something I'm just still learning, because I'm not learning a whole lot from these examples right here, except that making modifications doesn't necessarily help. Well, those came right off, but the surface is terrible. Let's move down here. Since these have been the best traditionally, now we're looking at line 4, the number 1, which is all of the changes so far, and we increased the top interface spacing. So what that means is the distance between these strands is larger. So this is the standard distance, and I don't know if you can see, these are a little bit larger holes. So your top interface spacing is how far apart the top layer lines will be spaced. And I've heard or read or seen people talk about increasing that to get better results. And so far that didn't help. So let's do this again with the standard settings, the increased top interface spacing, and that made it worse. So basically, what we've learned here is that sometimes it's best just to trust the slicer to do things the way that they've got it designed to do, because the best luck that we had was the normal default and the normal grid supports, either with standard settings or just with the top Z increased slightly by 0.03 millimeters. So learned a little bit. We learned that we got to trust the slicer a little bit more, but not too much, because we end up with this. So we do got to figure out how to orient our parts properly, and maybe start using manual supports and get an eye for where supports are actually needed. All right, well, I guess that's it for this video. We're definitely going to use this helmet to practice painting. You can see I rubbed some graphite powder on here just to get an idea of what it looks like and to see if the paint will stick to it, the paint and primer will stick to that. I'm trying to find a way to make that metal surface on the bottom with the paint over it and the paint chipped off and the metal showing through. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I know I learned something. And we'll make more videos tomorrow. Thanks, guys.